I'm closing the chat box now. So once again, very good afternoon to everyone who has joined this session. We'll start it. I hope around 30 members are there. Okay. So in the morning session, we had a look on to flow layout, right? But basically, there are various other layouts which we can use. For example, I kept few of the layouts which have been commonly used in case of our Java. The first one is border layout. Border layout will specify the placement of buttons or placement of any components, GUI components, as per the borders of a particular thing. For example, borders in the sense northern border, southern border, eastern border, and western border, and central region. So these bordering, for example, if you want to place any element, the first element will be kept in the northern border. Second element you can keep at any position as you wish. You need to specify you want to keep it. You can keep it at the southern border. You can keep it at the western border or to the eastern border or in the center. So border layout will basically place the components to the north, south, west and east as well as center. If you want to have a particular frame in which you are going to place the elements in this particular strategy, then you can adopt this border layout. Okay. This will be usually used when you are working with some sort of applications like that of common chessboard or common board onto which you wanted to have some gamings to be placed up in the north, south, and east, west, like that. Okay. Second type of layout is with regard to grid layout. Grid layout will basically split the frame into rows and columns, and it will keep the components into the corresponding rows and columns. The first row, first column filled first. Next, if there are two columns, then the second column will get filled, row 1, second column, then so on, row 2, third column, row 3, fourth column, like that it will carry on. As many number of columns are there, those many number of items can be placed. But do remember, in this particular part, there is a drawback that if any cell is missing here, then it will be left blank. For example, here in this particular screen, in this frame, I have 5 items, that 5 components which are placed. But even if 5 items are there, 5 components are there to be placed, the screen has been split into 6 cells, each containing one item, and the 6th cell is blank. Okay. So basically, if you want to have the grid type of tabular way of storage of information or placement of components, then you will go for a grid layout. Flow layout is simple. It is very, very simple. What it does is, it will place the first element at the leftmost corner of the first position. Okay. Then whatever next element is to be placed, it will keep it beside it. Then the next element beside that second element. Then the next element beside the third. Then the next element beside the fourth. It continues till it reaches the entire width of the frame. Whatever width we have specified, 500 pixels or something like that, it carries on placing of the components unless the width is full. Once the width is full, it will come for the next line. Okay, so it's like a flow of something from left to right by default, and then from next position, next line till the bottom of our frame. It's very simple. It's the one which is very commonly used, flow layout. But sometimes you don't want the items to be placed as per the flow layout. You want to arrange them into vertical order. So if you want to arrange them in vertical order, we have got a specialized layout called as box layout, in which the items are kept in the vertical order. There is one more, which is a combination of flow layout and the grid layout. Flow layout and the grid layout. And this says The rows can be customized. No need of having a fixed size of the columns for each row. Each row can contain its own respective number of columns. Here for in all the n rows, there will be two columns if it is split into two categories. Okay, but in case of grid bank, first row can have three columns, second row can have only one column, third row can have only last two columns, but it merged together. Okay, so we have got one more which is called as card layout, which is like placing of some books or some papers on top of one another. Just like play cards will be there. If they are placed one on top of another, it's like that. First card is removed, then the second card will be visible. If the second is removed, then the third will be visible. Unless and until the first is removed, the second will not be visible. Like that type of stuff. That's called as card layout. So layout is logical container used to arrange the graphical user components in a proper order. This is the basic definition of it. Okay. And it is present inside a package java.awt. So these are some of the layouts which have been defined in java.awt. Latest nowadays there are a few more layouts coming into picture which we will learn later when we are going to learn about swings package, but these layouts are the basic ones. If you don't want any of the layouts to be followed, you want your own components to be placed as per your own specific coordinate locations, then the layout should set layout should contain null. Just give me 5 minutes. Sorry for the disturbance. So in this slide, I have kept all the layouts along with what is their default positions. Okay. This flow layout is the one which is very commonly used. And it is the default for the applets, for the panel, and for the swing J panel also. In just like AWT, we have got swings as another package, right? In the swings package, instead of we will have J panel. Very equivalent to panel will be J panel. Do recollect, panel was something for splitting of the frame into multiple sections so that we can combine those and perform single activity onto a bunch of components which are placed there. Okay. And placement of components from left to right in the order they were added. Okay. And as the first line is complete, it will go for the next line and it will continue till the end of our frame. Border layout basically places the components into 5 areas: north, south, east, west, and center. Fine. And it is default for JFrame. That means just like in AWT we have frame, in case of swing we have got JFrame and JApplet also. And grid layout is going to arrange the components as per the rows and columns. Box layout going to arrange from left to right and top to bottom in the container. Card layout is going to place the elements or the components like a stack, one element on top of another. Okay. Grid bank layout, unlike the grid layout, each component each component size can vary and the components can be added in any order. This you need to memorize. So these different types of layouts are there which you need to by heart and you need to understand what difference do they make. So I kept one program back again, which we have already seen. But here, earlier when we executed, these two buttons were in the center of our frame. They were there at the top, but they were at the center. But here they are aligned to the left. It's because while creating the object of flow layout, I'm telling that it should follow the alignment to the left. I'm telling that it should follow the alignment to the left. Okay, so how I'm making a call to the flow layer set layout? I'm using the form object. That means I'm going to make an exclusive form creation. That means we are following the first method of creation of form. That's why we are not having any extends keyword over here. And using f.setLayout, I'm passing the object of flow layout and I'm initializing that particular object to align the elements or the components to the left side. Okay. So here is another program demonstrating how do we make use of border layout. We have created few buttons and we have tried to place them into that particular north south positions. So do remember here while adding those buttons, in here is only the setting of background and so forth, setting of size and title, all those. Here we are setting the layout. We are telling new border layout. Now here we have created one button. We have set the background color of the button so that we can distinguish each button clearly. We have created second button, set the background color of another button. Like that we have created few more buttons. And we have done with our buttons creation and setting their background and foreground colors. Now while adding them back into the form by using add method, I am explicitly telling that place this B1 to the north, place this B2 to the south, place this B3 to the east, place this B4 to the west. So I have to first mention where I am going to place it, then what I am going to place. Okay, so f dot add where I have to place and what I have to place. Is it clear? So then I am setting the visibility as visible. Here is one more program in which we are trying to place the make use of grid layout. And in case of grid layout, you know that when we are trying to place the items, they will get resized automatically based on the number of rows and columns we have created. Suppose here I have this frame of 500 by 400 size and I am placing 4 buttons here. So entire 500 by 400 will be split into 4 categories and will be one item will be placed in one cell. So I'm not specifying what should be the size here. It is automatically taken for each button. How it will take? It will split that entire screen 500 by 400 into 4 buttons which we are trying to keep. Okay, and it will try to arrange them into that particular 4 cells as per their sizes. Why only 4? Why only 4? It's because at the time of creation of grid layout object, we are exclusively telling take 2 rows with 2 columns. Split that particular screen into 2 rows and 2 columns. That's why it is taking only 4. Can we place one more item here? No. Can we place one more component, one more button here? No. Because there are only 4 cells and we can place only 4 buttons or 4 components there. Understood? So I hope till the layouts, the matter is clear for everyone, or is there any doubt? No doubt has been raised. So shall we move on for next topic? Okay, thank you. So next we are going to concentrate on if something is to be done based on some activity that was performed on the form, some clicking activity or some input activity, whatever it may be. something is to be performed, how it can be done. So we'll take one example program and we'll work around it, okay, to understand it. This part, whatever thing is happening on the form, based on the input that was given in the form, some action is to be performed. That linkage is called as event handling. Okay, basically, event handling is a part of AWT. What it will do is whatever component is there, button or text box or something like that, this clicking or doing something will change the position of the button to be pressed. Okay, I'm telling click the button. So what I'm doing, I'm pressing the button. That of the button will change that particular button and make a trigger to perform some action. Okay, but where are those actions mentioned? In which class or where do we write those actions to be performed? And how does the compiler come to know that the button was pressed and so method should be called? That's why there is a special category of methods called as event listeners. There is special category of methods mentioned in interfaces called as event listeners. These event listeners will always be running in the background and checking whether an event is occurring or not. Whether an event is occurring or not. Okay. So when will an event occur? When the state of the component changes. When will an event occur? Whenever the state of an object is changed. There is a circular given from head madam. I'm just mentioning that circular to you and I will be passing that circular to the group also. All the BC, SC, ST and EBC minority students are whoever are eligible for the post-matric scholarship are informed that the last date for online submission of e-pass scholarship applications can be uploaded on or before 15th of this month. Okay, online submission can be done before 15th of February 2021. And there are some list of certificates to be attached. Some attachments are to be there along with the online form, and the hard copies should also be submitted in our college to the concerned section. Okay. So please do make note of it and circulate among your friends. Just give me 2 minutes. So I hope that circular has reached you all people. Let's continue with our class. So basically what is event handling? There will be 3 things. First one, whenever we place any component in a container, that component is to be registered with an event listener. Okay? When we register it with an event listener, what happens is it is informed to the compiler that whenever that particular component is changing its state from normal state to pressed state or normal blank text field to some text field, some inserted text field, whenever the state is changed, some event is to be fired, some event is to occur. Okay. When will this particular information be communicated to compiler? When we register the component that we have placed in our frame with a particular event listener. So event listener is the background running interface that will always check whether the state of this particular associated or registered component is changing or not. This is our first step. Second step, whenever the state of this particular component changes, it fires a event object. What it does? It fires a event object. It initializes a event object. Fires in the sense it triggers or initializes a event object. For example, button click event or some type of key typed event or key pressed event, key released event, whatever event is going to occur, whatever state change is going to happen, this particular component, whenever it changes the state, a corresponding event will get fired or invoked. Whenever such thing happens, an event listener method which is going to handle that particular activity, when that particular state changes, what to be done, that action to be performed will be mentioned in the event listener. And the event object is passed to the event listener so that it can perform or execute the code that is required to be executed whenever such event has to occur. This is the basics of event handling. So Java adopts the so-called event-driven or event delegation programming model for event handling. So whatever block diagram I have kept here, whatever diagram I have kept here is the diagram for event delegation model. This is an important essay question. Do remember this part. Okay. So there are various other languages which are also having event-driven strategy, just like our Visual Basics and Delphi also. Delphi is another language which was there prior to other languages. So in the event-driven programming, what happens is a piece of event handling code is executed, some function is executed, also called as callback methods, okay? Also called as callback methods. This method or the function will get evaluated. This event handling code will get evaluated when an event has been fired in response to the user input. When an event has been fired in response to some user input, such as clicking a mouse button or hitting the enter button. Some event, okay? In terms, first thing, whenever a component is placed in a frame, we'll associate that particular component with its corresponding event listener interfaces. When that event listener interface is associated with the component, the event listener will always try to see or monitor what is the state of that particular component. Is it pressed or not pressed? Is it pressed or is it released? Is the key being entered or not entered? What is that particular state of that particular component at present moment? Have we selected a checkbox or have we not selected a checkbox? Have we selected a checkbox group or have we not selected it? Have we selected a choice element or not? Like that type of what is the current state of the component will be always monitored by event listener interface. Okay. Now this is an interface. So it will contain a list of methods which can get evaluated whenever there is a change in this particular event, whenever there is a change in this component. The change in the component is called as event. Okay. The change in the component's state is called as event. So whenever an event occurs, there is a corresponding method to be executed from the event listener. There is a corresponding method to be executed from the event listener. But one thing I would like to remind you, this event listener, there are various types of event listeners, but all of them are interfaces. Since they are interfaces, whichever class is going to inherit them, implement them, we will not say inherit, we will say implement them, that particular subclass, that particular implementer class should define all the methods that are mentioned in the event listener. Okay, because it is 100% abstract class. So when all the methods are to be defined, it becomes very difficult for the programmer to write the logic for each and everything. For example, there is a event listener for mouse event listener. The name of the interface is mouse event listener. This mouse event listener is going to contain methods corresponding to mouse left button pressed, mouse right clicked, mouse over, mouse entered, mouse exited, mouse released, mouse rollover. So all these different methods are there. I don't want all those things. I just want whenever left click is being done on a button, some action is to be performed. So my program is meant only for the left click. Why should I write for all of them? Correct? That's why, though they are listeners, what we'll do is we'll not directly implement them. We'll not directly implement them. Java developers have made it easy for us. What the Java developers have done is, instead of listeners, they have created some intermediary class called as adapter class. This adapter class has already defined all the methods corresponding to that event listener interface. Already defined it. But as per our convenience, we'll change that definition. We'll override that definition. So what we'll do is we will not directly implement the event listeners. We will try to extend the adapter classes into our program. We'll try to extend the adapter classes into our programs. So this is our strategy. So let us try to see what is event handling. In general, you cannot perform any operation on a dummy graphical user interface unless and until you associate that graphical component with a particular event listener. Okay. So to perform some operation on these dummy graphical screens, you need some predefined classes and interfaces, which we call them as event listeners and adapter classes. All these type of classes and interfaces are available in java.awt.event package. They are already available in this particular package. So do remember, earlier we have imported what? java.awt.asterisk. But that asterisk doesn't mean sub packages will also be inherited. Asterisk is meant for only the classes that are there in that particular package. Subfolders will not be imported. To import this subfolder, we need to exclusively write it. Okay. So what is an event? Basically, what is an event? Changing the state of an object is called as event. We say mouse press is an event. Why we are saying mouse was mouse left button was normally placed in its normal position. It was pressed, so that pressing has changed that normal position to a pressed state. That pressed state is the event that has occurred. Okay. So the process of handling the request in the graphical user screen is known as event handling. So what is event handling? The process of handling the request in the graphical screens as per the event that has occurred is called as event handling. Okay. So here, for example, I have kept one particular frame in front of you. I'm sorry, I'm again and again using the form word. This form was there in HTML. Here in Java, it is called as frame. Okay, I'm absolutely sorry for that slipping of tongue. So let's get back. This frame is going to have two labels asking the user to giving some message to the user, enter first number, enter second number. Okay, it is having three text boxes, one for the first number to be entered, second for the second number to be entered, and third for the result to be displayed back to the user. It has got one button which is labeled as add, which is captioned as add, and when this button is pressed, the data from the first text box should be captured and the data from the second text box should be captured, and both the data should be converted into integer format and they should be added together, and the result should be put into the third text box over here. Okay, so this is our entire strategy of program. So what we are going to have event handling. First of all, we need to have our package java.awt.event to be imported. So with that particular event handling, what three things that we need to focus on. We have to focus on three basic things. One is, what is the source of the event? What is the listener that we should associate with our component to? What will be the event object that will get invoked whenever that particular source or the component is uh, being made to work around with. Okay, whenever we are pressing or when we are releasing that button or something like that. Okay, so three things that we need to focus on are, what is the source of the event, what are the listeners that are to be associated with that particular event, and what is the actual event object that will get initialized or triggered whenever the source is changing its state. So source is the object such as button or text field which interacts with the user. Upon triggered, it creates an event object. It creates an event object. When this button is pressed or something like, upon triggering it, it will create an event object. What is that event object will be messaged to all the registered listeners object. Whatever registered event listeners we have registered our source with, that particular component with, those listeners objects will get created and an appropriate event handler method will be called back or executed. Okay, it looks little complicated with the definitions, but it is very simple. It's simple. Once the program is brought in front of you, you will really enjoy it. Okay, in simple terms, triggering a source fires an event to all its listeners and invokes an appropriate handler of the listeners. And invokes an appropriate handler of the listeners. So let us try to see that particular program. So what I'm trying to do here is, I'm trying to use the second method, first method of creation, second method of creation of frames. Second method which we have seen by inheriting the frame class. So what I am doing is, I am inheriting the frame class into a class called as add. This is my own given name. You can keep any name here. Okay. Just to create this frame, I have given this particular name over here. Now here we have got three text boxes, right? So I have declared them by using them as private text field, text txt underscore f number, txt underscore s number, that is first number, second number, txt underscore sum. All the text fields have been declared. Now for buttons, there is only one button, so I'm writing btn underscore add. This is the button name that I have given. There are two labels, so for that reason I'm using label underscore lbl underscore first number, lbl underscore second number, and I'm trying to have one constructor for this particular class. So what is that constructor for this class add? It is going to have some characteristics to be resetted or something to be done. Within 2 minutes, the meeting is going to wind up. I'm just going, I have some work. Within 2 minutes, I will be back again with the new session. Okay, just give me 2 minutes. Very nice question. Neha, why only private? You can keep them as public also. But in our program, are we using them outside of our class? Are we trying to use them outside of our class? No. We are trying to create the frame using this particular class itself. So when we are using within one single class, I have the choice whether to go with a public or to go with a private. So I just kept private there so that it is the highest locking mechanism that was there. Okay. I hope I have cleared your doubt. Okay, meanwhile, since there is some more time available, we'll just go through the basic of this one so that we can go with a remaining part also. So what we are doing is, we are setting the resizable. For example, when we created the frame now, if we drag and drop the corners of the frame, it will get expanded usually, normally. But I don't want that resizable property to be there. If I make it resizable, this 1020 this will jump to the next position. So I don't want that particular part to happen. So this second number will go beside the text box and it will distract the look and feel of my frame. That's why I'm setting the resizable as false. Now setting the title as edition, setting the size as 300 by 300, and setting the location on my present monitor. The top left corner position of my monitor will be 0, 0. So I'm not putting it onto the top left corner. I'm putting it into some 100, 100 so that it can be easily identified. Okay. Now for all the labels and for text fields and for button that we have declared above, we are creating special memories for them with their specific captions. Okay. For the two labels, we have given the caption as enter first number and enter the second number. For the text fields, we have set their sizes that they can have up to 10 digits or 10 characters accepted. For the second also, we can accept up to 10 characters. Okay, here we are writing 200, right? It's 3 characters. Like that, we can have 10 characters number. So for the sum also, I'm having 10 characters width, so that this text box looks little wider. That's all I wanted to have. I have kept the layout as null. When I say layout as null, that means I'm not going to have any of the predefined layout strategies. I have to explicitly tell at what position this particular label should come, at what position coordinate location this text box should come, at what coordinate location this label should come, and at what coordinate location this text box. Like that, I have to arrange all the items as per my given coordinate locations. And do remember, this is very difficult. This is very difficult. Difficult in the sense you need to memorize and remember where you have kept which component. Is it going to overlap with the previous one or not? Like that type of stuff will come up. You have to trial and error so that they look pretty good. But this is what normally the developers will follow. Okay, that's called as custom made bounds. Okay, so for label, I'm setting the bounds as 10, 50. So I'm having the starting position as 10 pixels from the x-axis and 50 pixels from the bound from the top.